What up, though? This is Pop Culture 223, a podcast where we talk about firearms, the Second Amendment, gear, and the culture. Get it popping with us on this journey. Let's go.
What up, though, everybody? We back with the Pop Culture 223 podcast. I got my homeboy on the ones and twos again, the Bear.
What up, though?
He in here, and I got a special guest here. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. He's here to critique my game and speak some game, and we're gonna be kicking it. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself. He go by the name Randy Wimbley from Channel 2. I get that right?
You got it right.
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, Randy Wimbley, man. Native Detroiter, Southfielder, more likely.
That's what's up.
Reporter filling anchor at Channel 2, Fox 2 News. And so, yeah, man, thank you for having me, bro. Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Showing love.
Hey, real quick, too, man. I'm sorry about the claps, man. I don't know what's going on. They've been a little iffy today. I don't know. But, we going to make the best of it, though.
I got to talk to the producer about this after the game, man. He supposed to had that changed up.
We going to get them fixed, man. We going to get them fixed.
We in a different lab today, too.
Yes,
we had the luxury. Now we in the one-bedroom suite. We in the dungeon.
But this the permanent home, though. This is dedicated us.
You know what I'm saying? So, look, we got to get into it real quick. So, what's popping in the culture? So, I was looking up some stuff today. I want to give a shout-out to New Era Detroit, man. You see, they was trending on all Instagram, Facebook. Everybody was sending me stuff like, man, who is these guys? Zeke and New Era Detroit, man, was in the city keeping the community safe, right? They was around pumping gas, keeping women and women with children. Yes, everybody's going to, neighborhood liquor stores and just in the hood, just keeping the hood safe. And in my opinion, that was a great thing because that's 2A at its finest, right? They CPL holders, they're doing it legal.
Yeah.
They out there just showing support for the hood, right? So they love the community. Like I said, I want to give a shout out to Zeke and New Era Detroit for doing that.
Big shout out to Zeke, man. That's my guy, man. Shout out to New Era Detroit, New Era Nation. It's amazing what he did with that organization, man. And they got more than a dozen chapters or something around the country. I think they even got something in Nigeria.
Hey,
really?
they out here.
Yeah, really?
They're doing it, bro. They are
expanding.
doing it, man. I got a lot of respect and admiration for Zeke, for his wife Kiera, man, and just everything that they're doing, man. Just big ups to New Era, man.
And also too, man, it's Black History Month.
Yes,
Get that
it is.
in there. Oh, there go that clap again. There we go.
Hey, that's a clean clap right
that's
there.
a clean one right there.
That was
See,
a
there we
clean
go.
clap.
There we go.
And then going with that, it's Black History Month. My aunt put me on some game, man. It's also Women's Heart Awareness Month, right? So all the women supposed to wear red today for Heart Awareness Month. Trying to keep up with their health, man, and especially with that. So it's like I said, it's I guess all the women supposed to wear red to represent the month of Heart Awareness Month, man. So my aunt put me up on that. I want to talk about that. And I also got something else to say.
What you got to say, man?
LeBron James, 36 points. He needs
Away
36
from
more
Kareem's
points.
Title,
36.
man. That's
The
amazing.
Kareem title. Dre, what you got to say, bro? I'm listening. Hey, man, he about to break the record. It's 4 people up there.
Ain't nobody else going to do it neither.
It's
I
Kareem.
don't think so. I don't
It's
think so.
Kareem, LeBron, and it's 2 more.
Karl Malone and
Jordan.
No,
Chris
Jordan.
I think it's somebody after Karl Malone, right?
yeah, I think it's Kobe.
Kobe. It is
Is it
Kobe.
Kobe?
It's
Okay.
Kobe. It's
Okay.
Kobe. So what you think about that, Dre?
I respect LeBron. I got love for LeBron.
Hey, that's when you come up with that big contrast. That butt is coming.
It is coming. It's coming. It's my only thing with the LeBron thing is this: like I respect everything he done. I'm a true Pistons fan, so yeah, I have a mentality of whatever. I still ain't got over that 27 straight points because Tayshaun Rasheed didn't knock him out the sky, but I get over it probably when I'm dead. But I just think my thing is I'm just tired of the every day, all day. That's all they can talk about, and I wish he just get it over with because I'm tired of hearing them talking about it.
Man, listen, I was trying to hear about that. I was trying to hear about the Aaron Rodgers stuff. They just
What did Aaron
bombard
Rodgers
you.
do? What did Aaron Rodgers do?
Just everything.
Just
Aaron
everything.
Rodgers, man.
What is he gonna do? What is this?
What
What is
diva
that?
with free
extraordinaire.
agency or whatever? Okay.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I got tired of hearing about that crap. But that's what's going on in the culture today, man. So we're gonna get into it. I met Randy. I don't even know where I met you at.
Man, you know what? It was at
As long as it wasn't prison.
Hey, listen, I have never been arrested before, man. I am straight and narrow, bro.
Not
I'm on the
wrestling
straight and narrow.
in the 2000s.
I think it was a black-owned liquor store over on the east side. I forgot the name of it.
Wait, time
But
out.
It was a,
time out. Hold
go
on,
ahead, go
Randy.
ahead.
I was just about to say, I didn't want to say it, but I was going to be funny and say, man, y'all probably went to the liquor store with a pint of yak in his hand or something. He literally came out and said, he was at the liquor store on the east side.
Hey, looking like Shannon Sharp with the Black and Mild and the
The
Henny.
Black and Miles and the Henny.
There you
Come
go.
on.
That's when I met you. That's what it was, right?
It was a story, in fact. I think we had a situation where
It's at the liquor store. I think something happened at that liquor store. They were doing neighborhood awareness, and the liquor store that I came to, they were like putting their sign ups, and this liquor store
Safe
is-
Zone Detroit. Safe Zone Detroit. Okay.
Once again, New Era Detroit.
Yep.
Now, was that pre Green Light Project?
No, that was during the Green Light era.
Okay.
That's very much during the Green Light era because that started, I want to say Project Green Light, 2018?
Something like
and this
that,
may
yeah.
have been about 2020 or maybe 2021. Maybe 2021 this happened.
Right.
When I met you over there for that story. And during that story, you were also pubbing the book because there had been a rash of kids getting a hold of unsecured firearms and shooting themselves or somebody else.
Yep,
And you was
Erica's
getting
Big
word
Day.
out,
The
yeah,
Erica's
about
Big Day
Erica's
project.
Big
That's-
Day.
And
Yes.
shout out to Zeke. He put me. He threw me right in the fire. I was just going up there to show support, kick it with him. He was like, "No, come on here, show the
Yes.
book." And Randy, he interviewed me with the book, so I was like just so surprised that just the amount of love I got for it at that time. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it was that was the first time, and then we kept in contact. He a brother that they get out there and like to do that chitty chitty bang bang. So we went out to the range and we
Yeah.
trained.
Oh, so you like to get down a little, man?
Yeah, man. It's yeah.
He had an O-Light on a Glock.
Don't do me like that.
There you go. Ain't nothing wrong with
He
that.
had the Glock.
We all got to start
wrong with
He
somewhere.
had the
O-Light.
O-Light.
You know wrong
We
with
all gotta
O-Light.
start somewhere.
O-Lights are okay. They're okay. They not.
Not according to Kevin Jordan, man.
They're okay. They're okay. I mean, they not. But he's a gun snob though. That's Mr.
Yes, he is.
That's Mr. Staccato right there. That's one of them staccato.
Yeah,
guys.
I'm not
Him
in
and
that
Sinister
tax
556.
bracket yet. I'm not in that tax bracket, my brother.
Hey, I'm not in that tax bracket either, man.
Me neither, brother. Me neither.
Hey, man, back in the day, we had peer pressures from the homies in the hood, but we still got peer pressure from the homies in the hood.
Right.
You
Right.
around there with the homies, they got staccatos, they got this, and you just gotta get it. That's like, you bought something just because what? Would you buy something? You bought something, Randy, just because what?
Never.
Just because it was fly.
Man, listen, I have a
else
wife
had it.
and 4 kids, man.
Do you really? That's
Yeah.
what's up, man. Well,
Yeah.
the 4 kids, of course, not the wife, but the 4 kids.
Sure, right.
Congratulations, bro.
Man, so I have to be incredibly disciplined while trying to, getting more into the gear and everything else. And so I'm an eBay raider, man.
Listen,
eBay raider.
Listen, bro, I got that bag downstairs full of crap. I just dump out and be looking through like I can't use this no more. I can't use that. The moment you buy a new light and throw it on that joker, you gotta buy a new damn holster. I'm just like, man, I'm so tired of this.
Yeah.
But I got in my safe zone, my cool zone with my M&Ps, man, and like the M&P 2.0 and the one that's kind of like one holster I got from T-Rex Arms. It fit like the compact
that
and
when
the
you put
2.
that
You
in,
know what
yeah.
I'm saying? I can just
Yeah.
throw the TRLR7 on there and I'm rolling. I ain't got to worry about no more holsters. So I kind of got in my safe zone with that, in that aspect. But, you get out there, people just buy stuff just because they see it on Instagram. They think it's cool. They think it's rocking.
You get a lot of people that don't really, do their due diligence or research and see what's, how it works. Does it, really work this way instead of just, or they see it and they think that that's what's happening, so to speak, so they grow with it. And
Right.
And that's another reason about the podcast, Pop Culture 2 to 3 podcast, and we talk about gear. Like, it's a lot of stuff that I seen and witnessed and ran, and I had a lot of good people around me to say, look, don't run this, run that. Don't buy this, buy that, right? As far as belts, holsters, gear. So I didn't really go down that tunnel of I'm just gonna buy this to check it out. Cause like I said, I got a wife, 2 kids, son play baseball, daughter want to do everything. You know what I'm saying? Travel. So that budget of gun budget is real small.
Trust me, man.
So
We
you know what I'm
talked about
saying?
it. I understand. Yeah, you say yours is baseball, mine's a golfer. So trust me. I
wow.
understand,
Wow.
man. That's whew.
In a minute, I'm just gonna walk around in some boxer shorts with my staccato taped to my chest. So like, look, hey, I got a staccato. I'm in my boxer shirt. That's all I can afford. But for real. And you know what I'm saying? And then going back to that idea of being a parent and what we do, we carry. do you go over with your kids in the house, let's say the household, a game plan if something pop off?
Okay, that is something I need to do a bit more of. What I've been doing lately, the past several years, is just schooling my kids in particular. My wife as well, but she knows a bit. But my kids in particular, just rules of safe and responsible firearms handling, what to do, and your book was extremely helpful in this. What to do? Come on, right? Get that. Yes. Erica's big day. Go cop that.
Man, he trying to
Erica's
help
big day.
hold me
Go
on them
cop that.
claps.
No, I wasn't trying to. I was waiting till the brother got what he got out of
Oh, I'm
the
sorry. I got excited. I was getting pumped.
Right?
I'm sorry.
You should be. You should be.
But just what kids should do if they ever see an unsecured firearm. You know what I mean? Stop, don't touch, run and tell an adult. So my kids,
Preach,
they
brother,
have
preach.
that down at this point. You know what I mean? My oldest son, he almost has remembered, like he can almost spout verbatim the 4 universal and some would say 5 rules of responsible firearm handling and what have you.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I think for me personally, being one who is, I'd like to think, a responsible adult, 2, a firearm owner, and I want always striving to be a responsibly armed citizen, right? I mean, this is a responsibility that the Second Amendment right, or constitutional rights, responsibilities come along with that. And that's something that like we should never look to diminish or make light of the responsibilities that come with the rights. And then on top of that, having seen and reported countless stories of what happens when kids get a hold of firearms, man.
Yeah.
And, so it's like, I can't ever be that guy.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? I just can't. So
Let me ask you this,
Yeah,
man. So if you don't mind me asking, how old are your kids?
10, 8, 6, and 4. So I have a girl, 2 boys, and a girl. So I call it my symmetrical sibling sandwich.
Right. Got
You know what I'm saying?
So
symmetrical sibling sandwich,
so,
man.
so your oldest is 10. So we can relate. My oldest is 11.
Okay,
So have you taken them or thought about taking them to the range as well to have
Oh yeah,
them shoot
that's
as well?
going to happen. My son, when we were over my in-laws this summer, they got maybe about 3-4 acres up there, and I tried to put a little 22 right because a few of us were out there. My father-in-law, my 2 brothers-in-law, and I had my boy out there, and my little nephew as well. We're all out there, so I said, "Hey man, Troy boy, why don't you come and try to, why don't you try?" He had a hard time with this little 22 rifle.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just he knows that dad owns a firearm. Dad owns firearms. We got firearms in the house, and so that's something that he will eventually explore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, I think it's interesting too. Just when you think about our community as African Americans and just historically, at least in bigger cities, bigger metropolitan areas,
Right.
we've been sort of in recent history somewhat disconnected from that
Absolutely.
rich history and legacy of black firearm ownership, as opposed to say those who are still in the South.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so it's like
yeah.
you got kids down there who still hunt, black kids hunting,
Yeah, they hunt.
everything.
They do
So
everything. They know
they're
how
a
to
bit
clean
more
their guns,
used to it,
running
right?
through different.
And I want to add this to that, and not the fact that when I grew up, my granddad, we had property in New Orleans, right? We used to go down there and shoot on the property. They gave me a 12 gauge. I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old.
Off, didn't it?
Boom! I hit that shoulder, and my shoulder's like, I was like, I'm never playing. I'm done.
I'm done.
Matter of fact, I'm 40 something, and I still won't go and train 8 hours with a shotgun.
Oh no.
Just because of that. But like in our
I
culture,
teach it, and I won't go no longer than like an hour or two.
in our culture,
That's with high brass too. No.
the first understanding we get with a firearm is at Uncle Ray Ray's funeral.
Right.
We know the impact of that firearm because we at a funeral.
Right.
But let's say in other cultures, they will go out and go to gun safety because they want to go hunting with their father.
Right.
They want to go hunt a
That's
deer.
it.
Right.
So they see that. They see what happens when you fire a firearm at and hit flesh.
Yep.
Because your father, they're gonna walk him over, they're gonna talk
Right.
about it, he's gonna visually see it, and he's gonna understand, and he's gonna keep that subconsciously in his head, like, hey, this is what a firearm and a bullet can do
Those
to
are
flesh.
Those are the kids that understand that it's a tool and the impact of it being the tool and the type of tool that it is.
It's for the mindset. It's for recreation.
Yeah.
But in our neighborhood, it's always been for protection.
Right.
Regardless if it's legal, unlegal,
said.
Right.
it's always been for protection. So our first understanding experience is, oh shoot, homie and them got chased home. My man had that whoop wop on him.
Right.
Or we go to the funeral. It was a murder. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That kind of mindset. So in our minds, it's always been protection. Well, like I say, on this side, maybe northern, but southern, they go out there and hunt.
Right.
And I think that we need to, like, parents need to get. I mean, well, you know, them old grandparents that was in the South and all that. We don't. They kind of like out of there. So to get back to that, like, take your, you know, just go over the gun safety rules with your kids, and just so they can understand that.
Yeah, man, because that's the difference I think between a lot of kids, you know, like you said, and just like you said, going to with the Southern thing. My grandfather, man, God rest him, he was, you know, from Macon, Georgia, and this is in the '80s, the early '80s, you know, and actually in the '70s, even before me, you know, I grew up with them where he had a backstop in the backyard.
Wow.
With you know a bunch of hay bales and stuff, but he never shot anything big. But I can remember being a little kid, and we had, you know, he would be out there with his bow and arrow, you know, and he would be out there with 22s or with 38s. And this is back when we had alleys, you know, we had true alleys where they had the dumpsters and stuff.
Sure.
But literally the way he was set it up was, you know, he would be shooting in his backyard. Now, on top of that, the way I describe my grandfather, some people laugh, and it is funny, but it's the truth. My grandfather was like Shaft. And I mean like Sam Jackson Shaft, because that's what he was. Stanley Knox was one of his best friends. You know what I mean? So, and this is before he was Chief Stanley Knox, but even still, you know, so literally he was the dude that would walk around with like the 2-foot Bowie knife on his hip, you know what I'm saying, barefoot with his shirt off, walking around, you know, the neighborhood. And when the cops rolled past him, they just, like in Shaft, when my man had him down, they just kind of threw his head up like, what up, though? That's how my because he knew, you know, all of his boys were cops. He was a former security officer.
Right.
Back when security officers actually carried pistols. I got his old service pistol. It was a, you know, old Smith & Wesson 10, a 38. And, you know, so I grew up that same way, being a northerner, but still with southern principles of understanding that. So I kind of, to some degree, you know, I'm split. You know, I understand the survival of training with, you know, the hunting and the tool, but also have seen
You balance. It's called balance. It's about you're a balanced shooter. You understand.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting just thinking about the different ways that people interact and come to first experience whether directly or indirectly the firearm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you look in larger, like say for people of our age or younger, right? In large metropolitan areas or what have you, their first interaction with it may be senseless gun violence at that. You know what I mean? And so, and that even begins to perhaps shape how they see and understand firearms, and consequently the Second Amendment, if someone were to talk about it and draw the connection between the two, as opposed to someone who grew up around firearms, the use of it responsibly, and so forth and so on. And it's just a different understanding of it, right? And so, and I think that so much of that is at play, I would argue, when we think about this current conversation about firearms, the usefulness of them in our society, the relevance of the Second Amendment, and so forth and so on. And so, and that's not even to get into the, you know, the deep sort of philosophical weeds about the Second Amendment and self-defense and, you know, oppression, tyranny, et cetera, et cetera.
But see, like, you know, and then too, we run it back a little bit. As you being a father, you're a father, you're a husband, and you're a protector. So really, you're a first responder. So even if it's not protection, I mean, you know, using fire, you still got to talk to your kids and your family about what happens if, in the fact, somebody passes out, or, you know what I'm saying, CPR stuff. Like, it ain't just about the firearm. It's being, having a game plan if something happens. Because, you know, let's just say my mom come stay with me, or my mother-in-law. I got kids there, so my son need to know what happens if, you know, mom or grandma, or something happened, if she's not feeling well, or she starts stumbling over her words. Like
Right.
people miss over that. Like that could be like something really going, you know what I'm saying, really a big
Something
issue.
going sideways, right?
Right, something going sideways. So it's not always about the firearm, but that's just part of it. Like, you know, because something happened, my wife take care of everything. But if something happened bad, my phone ring like that. Too, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, this happened, that happened, whoop, whoop. I get on the phone, you know, make a phone call, whatever I got to do.
So this is what I'll say, KJ, just to add to what you were saying there. Without realizing that you're doing this or having that mentality for, like you said, for your son, you kind of look at it the way I do in terms of, this is going to be funny saying this like this, but it is what it is. If you really look at it at its core, you treat your son the same way I treat my oldest son, to more or less be Carl Grimes from The Walking Dead.
I need my own phone. Listen, I'm a sucker. I don't watch no scary movies. No zombie, none of that.
You know, it took
I'm
me a
sucker.
minute. I'm like, Carl Grimes, that sounds familiar.
Right.
Oh, The Walking Dead. Okay.
Walking Dead. The reason why I say that is because it's like this. Like, that's my whole thing. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about, it's a zombie apocalypse out here, but it's the whole factor of the what if something, like you said, shit hits the fan type of scenario. Can my kid be able to handle what's what?
Sure.
And it's not paranoia. Like
That's what I'm
don't
saying, yeah, it's
like
not
my idea.
paranoia,
It's not
but-
paranoia. We not. It's just like I need him to understand if I'm not present. And this, I'm teaching him this because when he have his own family, he need to teach my grandson. this.
Exactly.
So I'm passing
Exactly.
down. So it's it's protection.
And that's what I mean. Like, if you watch the show, I know you don't watch it, but if you watch the show, it's literally through craziness of the show, but that's literally what Carl has learned and picked up from his father and other people like that. Of, okay, this is crazy, I need to be able to do this. This is crazy, I need to be able to do this. And he's picked it up. And then finally, when his dad's being a protector, and it's like, no, Carl, you go do. He's like, Dad, I got this. I know how to do it. But he's a kid still, and that's because he's learned and understood. And it's, to me, it's also the whole. It's I relate it to the line in Black Panther. And it's evident they hit you with it in the second one when he's sitting there talking to his father in the astral planes, and he says, "Have I?" What did he say? He said,
A father who has not prepared his children for his death
"Has failed
has
him."
failed as a father. Yeah.
And then he says, "Have I ever failed you?" And he says, "No." So in other words, he's done his job as a father to prepare him for him no longer being here, whether his son realized it or not.
Right.
And at that moment, he realizes. If you haven't seen the second one, I don't want to spoil it, but there is a part, if you have seen it, at the end.
Yes.
Where it comes around full circle again, and I ain't gonna lie, that's when the punk in me and the dad in me comes out, and I start crying again because I'm like, damn, 'cause it hit you. It's just
That
like,
got me too.
That's what
That
I'm
got me
saying.
too.
As a black father with sons, it hits you like, dang.
Yeah.
Right, you keep second. You're like,
That's that
am I
message.
doing it right? Is it all gonna work out? You know what I'm saying? But I guess a lot of that I kind of leave it in God's hands, man. I just gotta stay prayed up and keep it going. But like, I guess it's also evolution. My son like 6'1", 240. So he ain't he ain't the baby no more. When I told him about do this, because I used to tell my son, look, go downstairs and grab it, and bring me my firearm. It's unloaded, but I used to tell him to do that because we went over stuff. I want to see how he brings it to me.
That's how I do.
I want to see
I've
how he
done
holds
that.
it, right?
I've done that, yeah.
So now it ain't that. Now hey man, something happened. You the first one out. You young, you 240. You about to handle this. So it ain't
You baby wick out
right.
here.
It ain't no more that you behind me, I'm behind you.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
You kicking in the door, bro. You 240.
Right.
You athletic. You can move. So so it's kind of like a evolution of his training, not to. Because he watched video games. They play the gun. They play the games on the video games. So I like, look, come out here with me and really learn. This is what this thing does.
Right,
This is what this is. Like you see the video games, you hit A, X, whatever.
Right.
Go out here and play on this trigger. And learn how to really protect yourself. Because now we stepping up from shooting 22s and 9s. Now I'm give him the AR on the shoulder. I'm telling him to get it out the bag. I'm showing him how to load this. This is where it is.
Let me ask you this thing. Let's take it there. And maybe this is something to think about for you if you haven't already gone this route. So shit hits the fan scenario. Do you have a loadout already picked out for your son?
For sure. I bought a bag and everything. My wife like, you got like 15 bags. I said, look, this is the case. You say something.
Yeah.
This is the bag, just in case, pop off. This is the bag I got to take to the neighborhood, just in case. So I got bags, man, with stuff in it. So I got bag all kind of ammo and setups and different stuff. But all my bags had tourniquets, first aid equipment. And, you know what I'm saying? Because you always gonna need that regardless. You know what I'm saying?
And that's something I've kind of gotten into, like literally, like at this point of my son's, I don't want to say career, but his teachings level, like I already know, like literally, if something does go wrong, so I already got a holster for it, but my Glock 44, he's getting that 22. And I got a Roni where I can slide my 19 in. I mean,
you got the Roni?
Yeah, I got the Roni. I can put my 19 in there.
got a Roni.
So he can have that because it's easier to shoot. You know, it's shoulder fire, and he can, you know, he's got that.
That Roni is.
And I got this, and I got, like you said, and I got hookup for him to do. And the same thing with my wife. So she's already got hers, but I know she likes shot. You know, she likes the AR. So you take that. I'll deal with shotgun if, you know, everything hits the fan and blah, blah, blah. And I got my particular pistol. And
Hey,
blah,
do you
blah.
got duct tape and wrist locks in there?
Hey, I was gonna tell you too, man. I seen that one video. I need them zip ties, man.
I got them zip ties and that duct tape,
man.
bro.
I need them.
You never know.
I don't know about the duct tape, but I definitely need them zip ties, man.
Hey, off air. You need that duct tape, man. You definitely need that duct tape. Hey, Ray, let me ask you this, man. What was the first firearm you purchased?
Oh man, Glock 19.
Ask him, bro. Ask the bear what was the first one he bought.
What was your first firearm purchase? man?
Before we go into that,
Uh-oh.
why was it your Glock 19?
He gonna.
Well, you know, okay. Well, let's go all the way back, right? Let's go all the way back. This was more than I want to say about 11 years ago now. We've been married nearly 12 or 13 years, so maybe 10 years ago, 11 years, something like that. So I was living in Memphis at the time. My wife and I, we just got married.
Great city.
Yeah. Memphis is a
family down
dope
there.
little. Okay, yeah. Memphis is a dope little city, man. And so I wasn't a firearm owner. Didn't really think too much about the gun issue really at all. I remember shooting a gun on the job for a story when I worked up in Saginaw. You know, they gave me a 22 revolver, I think, and then like a 9mm, and I was holding it all wrong. I'm like, it's hurt my hand. I don't ever want to do this again. This is crazy.
Right.
I'm good. But once we got down there and I got married, hence in what you were saying, KJ, about being the first responder, right? Now, I don't even know what made me think about it, but it's like, oh, I'm a husband now. Mm-hmm. This sort of falls on me if something were to pop off, right?
Right.
And so, and I just, that sort of weighed on me. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it. And so, some gun range down there, I can't even remember the name of it, in Memphis, they were doing something where they were offering free concealed handgun. I think that's what they call it down there. I can't remember what concealed handgun license classes. They were offering these free to members of the press. So I'm like, oh snap!
Let me take advantage of this.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, I can kind of kill two birds with one stone. One, I can learn something that will inform my reporting because I know I'm going to report on this issue. It's going to come up, right?
Right.
And two, I get to sort of explore this personally because I've been thinking about it for the past month, right? So I took it. Sidebar, at the end of it, or even like midway through, as they're talking about just basic self-defense laws and everything, it sort of dawned on me, man, I don't even know if I want to go through with this. Because this is a weighty responsibility. Even in that 8-hour class, I couldn't help but come away with that thought, right? In sidebar, I think if anybody's taking a CPL class and they don't think twice about, man, am I really ready to shoulder this responsibility? If you're not thinking about that twice, I think that there's something wrong.
Right.
You feel me? Like legitimately, I think there's something wrong if you're not thinking like that. So I did it, took the class and everything. I think I shot an XDM for the qualification. Went to a gun shop. I need to buy my own joint.
The gun snob in him hates it.
Right. But I mean,
I mess with the XDM is not, the Elites is nice.
Okay.
But go ahead.
So I went in there. I'm like, okay, I shot the XDM. Maybe I'll just buy that. And I looked at it. It was like, it's a little too pricey. And I'm already kind of hurting anyway, right? So I looked like, hey, I don't even know how I landed on the Glock 19, to be honest with you. Maybe the guy said, listen, this is probably what you want to get. That's more than likely what happened. Like, the guy just pointed me in this direction. And I would later learn that that's probably one of the best first firearms, handguns you can probably buy. You know what I mean? And so,
Okay.
got that Glock 19 Gen 3. I had it on layaway. I wasn't making any bread down there.
Layaway guns.
Layaway, baby.
You
Let's
gotta
talk
do what you
about
gotta do,
layaway
man.
guns. Here,
about for
for
real.
Sportsman Guide.
For
They
real.
would do layaway guns.
guns, man.
So just to, and not to cut you off, so just to get it in, because I know he wanna laugh at this story. So I'm gonna ask, this is the reason why I asked you first, like, how did you come to that thing? So again, being the man that you are, he went through a research, found out. And so I went to a gun store over on the east side.
Yeah.
Like Center Line or Warren, right before Warren turns to Center Line on Van Dyke. I'm looking for a gun. I'm a young dude at the time. I'm like 22, 20. I think I just turned 21 or 22 or something like that. 23 at the oldest.
Yeah.
And I'm walking in, I'm looking. See this pistol. This price like dirt cheap. This is where the hood dude, this is where the hood dude comes into play. Hey, how much is that? And it's a 9? Shoot.
He said, and it's a 9.
Run that. High Point C9. Can't
Oh,
even,
dang.
Not
Oh,
even
wow.
gonna joke. Not even gonna joke around with it. So I'm like, but again, it wasn't the educated salesman that would be like, look, man, we sell these, but this probably, like you said, like the salesman probably told you this is probably the best thing that we sell them. But no, my man, you could tell he was just trying to make a buck. He was like, oh, you want one? Cool. So of course then, and I'm not afraid to tell the rest of the story. A couple months later, I'm at a gun and knife show.
Yeah.
Look up, I see another one, but it's in 40. So I'm like, man, they make these in 40 too? Shoot, let me get one of these
I shouldn't
too.
be laughing because somebody
me get
who
one
may
of
be
these,
listening
too.
owns one right
Hey,
now.
but-
I'm not laughing at you. I promise I'm not laughing at you.
I am. We laugh at them all day. As a former owner, we laugh. But every time I would go to a different range, a better range at Target Sports, shout out to Target Sports, and I was going to do the one on Woodward at the time. And the dude, I saw the salesman in him at first, but he kept saying, man, you got to get yourself a Glock. You got to get yourself a Glock. He never mentioned nothing else, even, H&Ks or nothing, just always a Glock.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, man, is he just getting commission on Glocks or what is he? All right, so literally another gun and knife show comes around, and he had talked about it so much, I started doing the just right thing. I started researching Glocks and looking into. And at that time, I'd also they started making a 357 SIG round, so I researched that, and I'm like, I like that. It's a 357 in a semi-automatic. Oh shoot, I need that. Man, that was my first Glock. Was a Glock 32.
Oh, wow.
Let me.
But again, I went through that whole stage of buying the cheap dirt gun, going to the range, looking like,
Man, he
this
trying
don't
to
shoot.
listen.
This
He
don't
trying,
shoot
listen.
right.
He bought a high point. Let's cut this.
Let it rest
I don't
right
nobody
there.
care about that long explanation of why you bought the high point. Ooh, you bought the high point.
Oh,
but look,
man.
Bought two of them.
but look. Let me ask you this: as a CPL instructor, and I'm just asking, you two. Well, you're not a CPL instructor, Rand, but when you was training or just understanding education of firearms, like when you go into the gun range and you see us. Instructor. Well, no, I'm talking about see us in the neighborhood, and they buying something like, man, don't buy that. Do you feel like obligated to go up there and ask them like, man, why you buying that, or why you buying this gun, or why you getting that? Because I'll be sitting at the gun range, and I'll be like, I'm waiting for somebody to ask me a question so I can help them. Because if we at a gun range, it's hard to if I'm looking at you, I want you to ask me a question.
Yeah.
Because I want to help you because I got game. I'm trying to give it back. But sometimes people look unapproachable or like, I'm just buying this because, I got a couple dollars. Like, man, listen, you betting your life on a $200 gun.
So this is what I do, KJ, and this is the part of my story more or less, but just the full circle of my training and everything. That's why I give that whole story like that, to say that I started from where I'm at. But if you know me and know where I'm at now, it's like you'd have never known that that's where I started from.
You still got a CZ P10.
And that boy will outshoot almost everything you got except for this.
Oh, no.
Trust me, that P10 ain't no joke.
No, I know my homeboy used to run P10. I'm joking.
But all jokes aside with that, what I like to do is I like to sit back and let them do what they're doing, and I feel them out. If they seem like they're approachable, I may pull them to the side or just, right then and there, like, hey, this, that, and the third. Now, I will say this. If I catch because it's the instructor in me. If I catch a salesman at the gun store just trying to put off whatever on somebody, especially like a woman, I jump right on in there like, oh, nah, baby girl, look, this ain't what you need. I understand that. This is what's good, though. Let me show you this here. Matter of fact, hey, my mans, I'll take over the salesmanship thing for him. Hey, my man, pull this gun, that gun, and that gun. We're going to put those in her hand real quick and see how she like those. And this is what this, and I'll tell him everything that's wrong with the gun he picked. You know what I mean? As far as why it's not, quote unquote, great for
Listen,
her.
I didn't sat in a gun store and I see somebody like, oh, come try this gun. It's the Ruger LCP9.
Or it's the Sky 9 or something like that.
And there was the Taurus, and I'm just like, that gun gonna jam. Yeah. Like what? Yeah. Oh, it's not. I feel the lights losing my hand. Yeah. I just want to say, babe, let's go in here and shoot this gun. Yeah. You know, let's shoot this. Let me help you out. Let me instruct you on another way. Like just because it's small, it's compact. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. But at the same time, you want something that's going to be reliable that you can, you know what I'm saying, bet your life on.
Well, and that's like when doing classes, you know, I typically start folks off if they complete true novices with 22. And I tell people all the time, you know, 22 is a confidence builder when they, you know, haven't shot and they're new and it's something that they can do. But at the same time, I'm sure you've seen this, people get comfortable with 22. Especially when they've never shot and they're like, oh, this is cool. This is easy to do. And this, blah, blah. I tell them off the rip, like, hey, it's going to be easy to shoot. I don't want you to get comfortable with what this is because literally this is not going to be something that you want to continuously use for defense like this. Right. All firearms you can use for that, but I don't want you to think that this is your end-all, be-all because in a true situation, you know, that's not going to be really what you need to stop and yada, 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 you know, the rest of the teaching goes. And I think that goes along with the same thing of what you're saying as far as types of guns as well because they both go hand in hand. Oh, I'm comfortable. Like you said, oh, this grip, it handles cool, and it's small, and it's compact, and it's pink, or it's Tiffany blue, or whatever the hell it is. But that doesn't mean that it's literally right for you or something that you can handle successfully and be okay with it. You know, like you said, you can put the smallest gun in your hand and they can stuff wherever and do whatever. But if you can't shoot it, what difference does it make? You know what I mean? If there's no nail to hit, what good is the hammer?
And and you know, even with that, like I know Randy trained, and I consider myself part of the Black Bottom Gun Club. I don't think I gotta re-up my membership. But you know, shout out to the Black Bottom Gun Club. And you know, I be in the feed and I be listening, and you know, people like to talk about. Well, I like to see y'all get out as a group and go shoot, especially when they do the gun days at the range for the ladies. And then when y'all talk about getting together and go train, with your experience when you went out to like your first training experience, how was it for you?
Well, you know, what's really interesting, man, outside of that CPL class, I never took an advanced class after that till roughly about 9 years, right? And that was something with Body by O when he came up here. But here's why, though. Here's why. Right after I got my CPL, my wife must have told her sister. Her sister told her husband, who's also a gun guy, very pro 2A. So he hit me up. He sent me a text and Randy, you need to do this thing called IDPA. You need to go shoot IDPA and let some old geezer make you his project. And I'm just like, what is that?
Hey,
right. So
hey, that's what I'm doing. No.
Hey, come on, right. So Pete, so check this out, man. So I'm like, what? So I had to go. I Googled it first. Like, okay, International Defensive Pistol Associate. Okay, whatever. Let me click videos. Boom. And then YouTube videos pop up.
Got you hooked, didn't it?
Let me watch this. Oh.
Got you hooked, didn't it?
Right? So then I'm like, you know what? Let me Google to see if there's something in Memphis. I did, right? And there was something like maybe 30 minutes away from our apartment at the time. I go there. I'm the only black face in the crowd. The only one, right? And people, and this is so funny. Shooting those, right? I ended up meeting this one guy. We're probably about the same age. His one white guy. He was a cool cat, very cool cat. So when I say a white guy, I'm not implying that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know. So please, if anyone is listening, don't put that on me. It's only a descriptor. But his name was like Mason Dixon. I was like, get out of here. I'm like, what's up? I'm Randy. How you doing? Yeah, I'm Mason Dixon. I'm like, what? Your name is Mason. So I just started calling him the South after that. Every match and everything I saw him, I called him the South. But from doing that, man, so I went CPL class, got my firearm, got the Glock 19. I'm like, oh, IDPA. So I'm watching the videos. Okay, I need I need a holster. Oh, I got a holster, right? So I was using the hybrid inside the waistband hip holster for the first several matches and practices that I shot.
Right.
I went and got a little Phobos dual magazine holder, a paddle joint, shoved that in my belt, and I said, let's do it.
Right.
So from there, simply from watching other people, I kind of learned how to draw, how to shoot, how to, well, not shoot, but really how to shoot, how to reload, how to manage cover. You know what I mean? And so all of that, like not breaking the 180, you know what I mean? All of that stuff simply from shooting IDPA. And that stuff is really all like the next step classes, essentially. You know what I mean? And so it was very much just sort of thrown into the fire, but I didn't even realize it because it was such a fun sort of experience, right? And everyone there, most of the people there, they were sort of friendly and like, hey, man, you should try to do this next time. And, you know, people giving you little pointers and stuff like that. And that stuff was so incredibly helpful because it really helped me get like my base, my foundation, and then something to sort of build on, right? To learn a bit more simply by shooting competition. So it was nearly a decade later that I had actually taken the class.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so.
And no, and I touched on it a little bit last time. Like in your journey of training, I think competition or putting yourself in competition is a good thing because it kind of, to be a full total shooter is more about mental game than it is about the physical. I'm like, you get the fundamentals and all that shoot, but it's a thinking man's game. And I like the way I went to the tactical side.
Yeah.
And then, I was tactical, going to the tactical trainings, and then I got introduced to competition shooting by the homie Jeff from DMI Performance. I learned
Jeff Wild.
Jeff Wild. I learned a lot of my game from Jeff Wild, man. He run a great curriculum from handgun to carbine to whatever. He got some good things coming up this summer. So I mean, right now, you can go take a look. I'll post it up. So I went from tactical to competition, and then it was just like, because it's some things in competition that goes over to relates to the tactical world, but then there's something that don't. Like you can pick up habits here and habits there. Because I think, like I said, in the journey of training, like competition is definitely something you should get into.
Yeah. It's crazy because like for the first couple of years, I didn't know that there were additional classes you could take.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't even know that was a thing, right? And so you talked about, what was my journey. So one, like shooting IDPA, some competition stuff, then took a course with Body Bio. That was kind of like a rifle pistol joint. And then
How was that?
Yeah, I was about to ask you, how was that?
that was cool. That was cool. It was a lot more pistol, just how many people were in there and what have you. We got to use the rifle a little bit. My gear validation happens during courses.
Oh
right?
my God!
Oh, yeah.
My
You
red
know
dot died.
right quick what I got.
Oh yeah. My red dot died in the middle of a course of fire. So
Okay,
I had to, I had my irons up and everything.
I'm gonna ask you a question. What red dot was it?
It was a Hollow Sun 403B.
So you had your backup sights was what the
It was
front
a
sight, back sight.
A2 front post and a Magpul M-bus.
So
M-bus for rear
you
sight.
you see some people run red dot only with no back fronts or back. Some
you
people
go.
just run red dot with
There you
just the
go.
front. But
I've seen that. They crazy for that.
now
man.
everybody, you see people do the drop test. This gun, that red dot don't break down, but it happened, right?
happens.
Shit happened, and he had to go
Batteries
back
die,
to
all
the
of that
fundamentals of front sight. You know what I'm saying? Looking how, getting the gun up, getting the front sight on. Because you can't always rely on that red dot. You
right.
can, but you can't. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to enter that. But
Well said.
go ahead.
so-
But yeah, but to add to that, that's why, like on mine, that's why I got them 45. The reason why I have my irons at on that 45 like I got, because I don't like to steal the co-witnessing factor through the glass. So in case something does die, in my mind, it's just another thing I got to see through to try to co-witness to do. So I'd rather just have it out the way, 45, and then still have straight irons and be there. So
Right.
that's why I got my backups on the 45.
And then also too, like, and then I like
Just
to
personal preference.
I like to push people outside the box of CPL. Like, you go to CPL class, it's cool, get your 8 hours, but I'm glad that you jumped into, you came from doing competition, and then you went into training. push people outside of that box of training. I mean, push people outside of that box of CPL class and get to like additional training.
Yes.
Like you got to get outside of the box. Even when you just say, because I know y'all did some MDFI training classes.
Big shout out to Trek, MDFI.
Tricky Trek and
man.
but like
a lot of stuff with them.
even with that, you know, get outside of that box. You know what I'm saying? Because you keep going to classes with the same group. You want to get outside of that because you want to experience like different philosophies and different experiences because you can get comfortable within that group because they know you or you know the same face, the same people, but you want to get pushed outside of that just to personally gain, to go up because my homeboy say every time, you know, you may be able to shoot good, but you need to go shoot with some other people that can really get it, that can push your skills. Because if you're the best shooter in your group, you're just gonna stay right there.
Right.
So you always want to put. That's with anything in any sports, any physical. You know what I'm saying? Basketball, football. You want to sharpen your skills, but you know the people that's up there. So
Man, it sounds like we need to get Randy out with one of them axe matches too.
You know
listen,
what? And
listen.
so Kevin has been trying to get me on that for probably about a good year now.
Okay.
A good maybe year and a half. And so that is something I'm definitely looking to do this year. I'm definitely looking to do that. In cyber, let me segue back. So did the body bio joint, and later on that year in 2020, I did my first MDFI joint. You suck. It's not the gun.
Right.
And so somebody had put me on the MDFI because I wasn't familiar with them. But a guy who's a ammo manufacturer, he put me, hey, you need to go check out MDFI. I'm like, okay, all right. So took a carbine, then a foundation carbine joint as well. So big shout out to MDFI, man, because I hear what you're saying, but I think they do a really good job.
Oh, they
do a really good job, man.
Man, I started with them, and before he bought it from Steve. He purchased from Steve Fisher, the Big Yeti. So I was with them when they first started, when the curriculum probably wasn't even kind of created. I mean, they were created, but it wasn't what it was today. And then I ventured off with Jeff Wild from DMI Performance, and that's what I got a lot of my performance game from and shoot. And then he put me onto the Axe match. And that's like that's fun, man.
It's a lot of fun, man.
You went out there and you was like, man, this is what I was talking about.
Yeah. So this is what I say from my perspective of it, man. Like I said, joking around, like you said, you find the old white guy that kind of coach you up. So I'm joking, messing with him because we the same age. But my point with that is literally being this project kind of like that because, like he said, he come from a tactical and then going to competition. I come from more or less fundamental base. And still going that way as far as from a teaching aspect. So my instructor, my brother, Cyril Davis, shout out to Cyril. He's a former, DPD officer, former air marshal, and all of his instructors were, the dudes from Top Shot, JJ Ricazza, Top Shot Dustin, all of them guys, that's who he learned from in the feds. So I learned a lot of like fundamental shooting and, actually hitting targets and going through from him who learned from them. Wow. So my whole basis has been literally teaching fundamentals and making sure you're good. Like I tell people, defensive shooting is cool, but that's really learning to, hit targets, get people off you. Being a good marksman will actually make you a better defensive shooter because you won't be just kind of spray and pray. You'll actually be knowing what you're hitting and hitting stuff. Fast forward that to now me trying to transition to competition. I'm not going to lie, I'm slow as shit. And
yeah. I got you.
I took it to heart, literally the first match we went to when he was like, hey, man, look, just take your time, go slow, do what you do, blah, blah, blah. Literally, I'm up here, Randy, going through slow as hell, like, boom, boom. Let me peek around here, boom, boom.
Sure, yeah.
Let me creep on over to here, boom, boom.
Right.
Boom. Let me creep on. Now, my shots would be boom, 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 but my movement is slow and I'm going and it's, but that's what I wanted to get to. And then, like you said, having other people there that outside of, him and 5.5, Sinister 5.56, teaching me and coaching me and going through, there were other people there that was like, hey, man, you did that good, but I would do this. Or you did this, but, try to do this a little better or do that.
That community is great, man. It's kind of like, it's like like at work, right? You can't really talk about firearms stuff at work, but you find that one gun buddy, that
dude,
gun boyfriend.
Yep.
He like, oh, you shoot gun? Yeah, I shoot him too. And then y'all start sending pictures to each other. And your wife like, who you talking to? I'm talking to Ryan, man. I just found out he's like to shoot guns. Next thing you know, we texting all day, texting all night. What would you do? But y'all working, y'all in the cubicle next to each other. You can't really talk about it. But that's how the community is, man. They'll help you, especially up there. Like you go up there and it's crazy because we come from where we come from, and then
Right.
you go up there, it's like just us. Like we can count
Right.
our fingers, just 1, 2, 3.
Sure.
But they open, man. They they open. You can ask them
yeah.
anything.
Anything.
They got
Anything.
answers. They can
You,
answer.
you know what I think is really dope about that? Because, and you see this in other arenas in life and what have you, but the fact that that diversity, namely, coming in there to an environment where they perhaps may not have had a whole lot of interaction with black folks before.
Right.
But they come in, they see like, oh, y'all squared away. You guys are like,
Right.
that's what's up.
The narrative changes.
The narrative changes.
Because they
The
like,
narrative
oh, okay,
changes.
y'all
Yes.
say if y'all okay,
Yeah.
because we
Yes.
was now like our goal was not to get sent home, but then it got to the point where it's like, oh, we in the top 10, we in the top
Right.
this. Well, at least my homeboy Central 556
Right.
was.
Right.
I was
Shout out to
always
556.
I was always below that because I'm trying to film, trying to take Instagram, and I just want to shoot, but. Like when we first got up there, it was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? It's maybe like one person or two people. Like even Ross, I think Ross went up
Ross
there
Palmer,
like
yeah.
but like we try to get up there every Saturday. Like every second Saturday, like right now, it's year round.
Yeah,
so
they shooting the snow and
they shooting the
everything.
snow
They
and
hardcore with
everything.
it. I
So,
give it to 'em.
but we went up there, it's just us. So they was like, oh, y'all can get down. Y'all can get down with the get down. So we just kept going up there, you know what I'm saying, and doing our thing. And it's funny because we were talking about last episode, we were talking about Gucci rifles, right?
Right.
So I went up to Encore, right? I walk in there. They got Daniel Defense rep is there. His name's Frank. I walked in there, stole me a hat.
about to say, I see you got
got
the
my
hat.
Daniel Defense hat. Man, they
Shout out to him.
listen. And I talked to him. I was trying to kick it with him. He said they got some reps, and so I'm gonna try to reach out to him and try if we can get Daniel Defense rep on the show next time they come in. But they make their own suppressors. They got a suppressor coming out. I think it's already out. I've been looking into give me a suppressor, but they had some nice guns up there. Some
yeah.
Gucci,
Oh, yeah.
some real nice Gucci guns.
Yeah, the last 2 years or the last two times, because I didn't go this past year, the last two times I've been to the USCCA convention, the Concealed Carry Convention. If you haven't been, that's actually a good one to go to the last 2 years.
Is that now what, Wisconsin?
No,
They-
so the first one was in Pittsburgh, but the last couple have been in Fort Worth. And I'm wondering if because it's Texas that they'll just continue to be in Fort Worth at the convention center. But
Because I thought they were based in Wisconsin. That's not.
they're based in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah, USC is
Okay.
based in Wisconsin.
But the conference was a traveling conference for a while.
Sure, okay,
But
I
I think
got you.
now
I'm
I think
tracking
they
with you.
maybe we'll see what happens for this year because it's normally like in November. We'll see if they have picked Fort Worth to be their hub or whatever going forward. But they had a booth there, man. It was a large booth, and they had some really nice guns.
Listen, my man said
Really
that
nice.
he has to change that barrel. He put 25,000 rounds through a barrel, like Foliolo, with the suppressor on. He said the barrel's probably done. Nah, come on, ain't nobody at this table gonna put 25,000 rounds
right.
through a barrel. So like that gun ain't gonna that ain't a breakdown gun.
Yeah,
that
that's
ain't
what's
a that ain't a breakdown brand gun. You know
Probably
what
got
I'm
like
saying?
the latest, greatest chrome moly barrel.
Because he asked me last week, he's like, man, what's like the high point of rifles? And I was just like, Saint maybe.
The Saint is the high point. No,
I
would,
you want to say the Saint,
high point. I would
Springfield,
maybe-
the Saint,
maybe with a DPMS. Do they still make
Diamondback? I for sure. I said
Diamondback, but the DMPS.
So
DMPS.
I'll say this: I don't even know if I would classify. So here's what I've kind of noticed, and you being the gun snob wouldn't have noticed this this stuff because you don't really deal with us lesser folks, Randy. Down on the bottom there.
Randy got what you got, Randy?
But
I got what?
The AR-15.
M&P, and then it builds.
But I said you can't go wrong with M&P.
Right. But I'm just saying, I think that
then the
some of them brands like the M&P, the Saint, and the Ruger one, they've kind of they're that middle ground. When you got the like you said, the DPMS, and then
Diamondback probably. With
Diamondback, I think has kind of stepped their game up a little because I've seen some of the newer guns that they made at that last show. Same thing with Delton. They're okay.
Okay.
Hey.
But if you're still talking like good, bad, whatever, sure, they're still down here.
Sure.
But I wouldn't be as afraid of a Delton or a Diamondback as I would a DPMS. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to be shooting and my life depend on it type of thing. And of course, you got your M&Ps, your Ruger one, your Saints. then then probably your Daniel defenses, and then you talking everything else above that. That's like your custom boys and all.
Warfare, research.
Yeah.
I ain't doing none of them, but Daniel on up.
I thought Daniel was going to be one of those top tiers.
I have a spikes, right? But my spikes is kind of redone. I got a Colt, a nickel brown bolt in it. I got a Daniel defense barrel. So really, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
we got into building.
Right.
So I built it how I wanted to my
Right.
specs. I think to me that's like, the way you
Right.
should go. Like
Yeah.
the upper and lower, depending on what. Like I got an Aero Precision upper and lower. And one of my bolts keep coming out. I think it's the bolt catch spring. So I put like 2 up in there. But my homie's like, man, we about to go competition. Shh, throw that out.
Right.
Go get something else. Run the spikes. And this was before no brace, no case. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay. But I loved it was my COVID build. I love that rifle. You know what I'm saying? I put, I got a ballistic barrel in it, ballistic advanced barrel in it. I got a cold trigger in it. Everything's cold. But that one little hiccup, I was like, oh, toss it to the side.
Got you.
And I
Especially in the competition where you're under the clock.
You need everything to be a well-oiled machine. Yeah.
Because I noticed it at the last Axe match and it came unloose, but I was just like, he was like, man, you can't afford. So basically, if you revolve that into like real world, if something happened, you can't you can't depend on it.
Right.
But you can't depend on it. So I went straight with the one that I know that worked and ran. You know what I'm saying? I put a lot of rounds I ain't never had to break down. So, but I got another question for you, Rand, and this is probably one of the first ones. Like, since you've been doing what you're doing at the job, what have you seen in the community? Like, what's your perception of what's going on in the community as far as like in the city of Detroit? Like what? What's your perception of what's going on when you go out to see a crime scene or that or whatever? Like, is can training help like the community? Like, what we talking about?
I think training is probably, I wouldn't say the first thing. I would say first and foremost probably getting well acquainted and embracing the responsibilities of firearm ownership. I think that is first and foremost. Now, one can make the argument, right, because a lot of the violence that you see in the city of Detroit is beef, dope-related stuff, and also stuff with just poor conflict resolution skills, right? Poor conflict resolution skills. I think taking out the dope-related stuff and crime and organized crime and what have you, when you just look at the conflict resolution skills, just a embracing of the responsibilities that come with having a firearm, right? And really thinking through the implications of it, I think we're sort of dead a lot of that stuff. Whether it's, one, the safe storage of firearms, when we see all of these instances where kids are getting a hold of unsecure firearms, that aspect of it, the conflict resolution, you know what I mean? And just coming to terms with the fact, like, you know what? Somebody is yelling at me and going off, they're trying to push my buttons. If I just walk away, like, hey, you got it, they're going to think I'm a punk, right? But at the same time, this one rapper I listen to, this guy named Bizzle, a Christian rapper, he got this one song, and check it out when you get a chance. Some wins look just like losses. Let that sink in, bro.
Real. That's real.
Some wins look just like losses,
That's
man.
real.
And so I think, and just a return to like those, and not to sound like some old school ideologue almost, man, but just to return to certain values that we once had as a community.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
Like a return to some of those values, man, would dead the vast majority, well, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing. It would dead a lot of it, man. And so I think that's what it really hinges on. One, the responsibilities that come with owning a firearm. And two, just to return to those values.
Let me ask you this too, man. I don't mean to interject there, but let me ask you this too. Because it was you that, if I'm not mistaken, I can swear it was you. You were the one that reported on the lady not too far from here that was cleaning up and she found the gun in the bag. Was that you? Was that you that reported that?
I can't. When was that?
This is probably about a month ago, if that.
Which one? The High Point?
Yeah, they had the Jennings in the bag, and they also had the Glock that they found. The lady she sweeps up every day.
I don't think that was me. I don't. 'Cause I don't
He
recall
did,
that. I
he
don't
did
recall
stereotype with all other black news guys.
Right. You all look alike.
You all look alike.
And they been like 5 of them.
Hey,
so, I mean,
everybody with a
probably-
microphone in their hands is Randy.
You probably get I know he does those types of stories.
Sure,
and I
without a doubt, yeah.
And not even being a fanboy, not even being funny. I legit only watch Fox 2 News.
My God,
so that's
I
why I'm
appreciate
like,
that. Yeah.
like literally, like I thought it was him. My point was, the story was literally that a lady was cleaning up in front of her house. During the whole time of cleaning up, she found a pistol in a bag with some rounds in it, and it was later reported also that like a week before that, she had also found like another pistol in the picture. The picture they showed was like a Glock 26 or like a Glock 30 or something like that. Wow. My question is, how often do stories like that are like the simpler ones that, like you said, could probably make a better impact where you were, what you were talking about, don't get reported, or do you even hear about?
So I think stories like that, normally when that comes across, the desk or what have you, the assignment desk, or we get a tip about it, more often than not, that story is going to end up on air. So you can think about that in one of two ways. Because oftentimes people say, and rightly so, there's so much that happens that you don't see on the news, right?
Correct.
But on the flip side, there are some things that happen and it will undoubtedly be on the news. So, for instance, when you talk about as horrible and reckless and nonsensical as it is that kids can get a hold of a firearm and shoot themselves or someone else,
Right.
all the times that you basically see that on TV or read about it in the paper, that's about all the times it's going to happen.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So it's like that doesn't diminish the impact of it
Gotcha.
or the severity or the significance of the issue, right?
Gotcha.
But that's about all the times that it happens, because those sorts of stories will always make the news.
Gotcha.
So let me ask you: when you see
That's good to hear, though, to know that like stuff like that doesn't get pushed to the wayside. or
No,
anything
not
like
what,
that. That's a good
no, not at all.
when you see things like that happen, you go to a and let me try to keep it short, because we were kind of running out of time. Do you, like, after it's over the story, do you kind of like give them game or things you should do or shouldn't do, or hey, go read this book, Erica's Big Day?
Right. So here's the thing with that. So
Shameless plug,
oftentimes,
there you
Shameless
go.
plug. I'm sorry.
There you go.
right. So oftentimes we may not be able to get that close to it.
Okay.
If we can, I will. Right.
Gotcha.
But sometimes, like, we're not able to get that close. So take, for instance, if there's if a kid finds a gun and shoots himself or something like that. One, whatever house that happened in, there's going to be a 3 or 4 house perimeter that police then set up the tape on.
Right.
So you're not going to get them that same day.
Right.
So if you try to do the follow-up story the next day, it's likely that the parent, they don't want to talk to the press.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the
But would
next,
they talk to you? Understand what I'm saying? Like, talk to
I hear
you.
you.
Because who you are, what you represent, because you in the city. You from, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it
it may
different?
be maybe a proxy.
Okay.
Like somebody close to that situation, a family member or something of that nature, right?
Uncle, sister,
yeah,
brother,
who may
something,
reach
yeah.
out to me or reach out to the station or something of that nature. But it's like, man, when in those situations, right, outside the TV news, because one, this is still, for the time being at the very least, this is still a constitutionally protected right.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I wouldn't be out of bounds, I would argue, if outside of everything, like, hey, let me pull your coattail. Listen, you can buy a safe, yada, 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 yada. Right? And sadly, in that situation, whatever firearm was used, that's gone now.
Hey, and really
The
quick,
family, they're not getting that back.
shameless plug too. If you need a gun safe, don't be afraid to reach out to Ingram Brothers gun safes and vault stores there.
Shameless plug. There we
Shameless
go.
plug for the family, but yeah.
Shameless plug for the family.
Yeah,
but man,
but I try to, in instances where I can, try to, inform as much and as often as possible, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
and
good,
just to
that's
put
good.
people up on game, because especially when you think about the number of people in our community, especially who are becoming gun owners for the very first time.
Right.
For the very first time,
Right.
there's a big gap in knowledge, skill, understanding, right? And sadly, I mean, I don't know if we really want to broach this subject with the time that we have, but I'm sure you guys have heard the stories where you got some very unscrupulous CPL instructors
Oh yeah.
who are just, writing off something for a few $100 and then people are trying to apply for a CPL, but they have no understanding and no knowledge, the little knowledge that you do get in that 8-hour class, but they have none of that.
Won't
Right.
do it. Can't do it.
Right.
Right? And so hence you guys remember the spike in CCW cases that we saw in Detroit and Wayne County during the pandemic 2021. So when that first happened, I was hearing about it. I'm like, I know that these are not just a bunch of hardened criminals that they just catching with guns. Like, and this is me because I'm aware of this stuff, right?
Right.
I'm like, something is off here. And then a few months later, I'm the first one to do the story on just the backlog with CPL applications with Wayne County.
Right.
And then they click, that's what's happening.
Right.
You have people, well, part of what's happening, people who may have taken a CPL class or who just, got the hookup.
Yep.
Right? Got the hookup. They're not waiting this, however long they got to wait to get the
4, 5,
application
6
filled and
months,
what have you with the county clerk because they were inundated.
Right.
They had to shut things down. The spot over on Henry Ruff and Westland was shut down because of COVID.
Still shut down, isn't it?
Still shut down to this day.
Yeah.
And so you had a bunch of people like, well, I guess I'll just keep my certificate that they gave me in class, and I'll just have that, right? And they're open carrying, but the moment you get in the car when you're open carrying, it's concealed.
Yep.
Boom, pulled over. And guess what? In many of these cases, they're trying to do the right thing. They get pulled over. Hey, officer, I just want to let you know that I took a CPL class and I have a firearm with me in the car. And he's like, oh, bet.
So
right?
Got one, coach.
Yeah, yeah, man. So it's like a lot of people got jammed up, and then the numbers later came out. They said something like 73% were people who never had a record, regular law-abiding people who got jammed up because they did not know.
And it's
the
funny that
information they didn't have.
And it's funny that you say that because I'm just like, how these people getting jammed up? And like I said, we probably can't really get into how these people getting jammed up because I know a CPL instructor told them the right and proper way to transport that firearm, supposedly. And I know that a gun range told you when you go get a purchase permit how to transfer that. I mean, how to transport that firearm. So what are we doing here? How are we getting jammed up? And I know, but that makes sense. Like, hey, can you give me that CCW gun for $75? Bet, boom, whoop, whoop, take the money, keep it moving.
Yeah,
ain't educated.
You probably also have people who were just excited, right? And they were told this is how you properly transport a firearm.
Right.
But they're like, oh man, I got a gun now, right? And I'm waiting to get my CPL, and they just got it in the back seat, right? As opposed to in the trunk.
Right.
And then they got caught up.
Yeah, that baffled me, man. I know these folks out here supposed to be these CPL instructors telling these people what the proper way to do it. But like you said, it's some unscrupulous people that just want the money, ain't about the education. But that's why the Pop Culture 223 is so important because we trying to educate and get game always, bro.
That's it.
And also I want to add this a little bit. Since it's Black History Month, like, look, husband, wives, take your husband, wife, take your husband to the range. Wife, take your husband to the range. It's get it popping month. So look, go get some. It's Valentine's Day coming up. Right. Hey, go to the range, get it popping. Go up there and wipe off that gun that got that dust on it you got sitting underneath the cabinet. Talking about in the lockbox. Talking about you gonna get to it real quick.
Right. Get some trigger time.
Get some trigger time in, man.
Since it's Black History Month, let's do this. Let me see something here.
You want to put it on the spot now?
No. So we're talking about Black History Month. Let's talk about the rich legacy of Black firearm ownership. Because we didn't just now start, some of us just now started buying firearms, right? But ever since we obtained the right to own firearms, Black folks have done that. So a couple of books, man. Negroes and the Gun, The Black Tradition of Arms, from Nicholas Johnson. Negroes with Guns, from Robert F. Williams. Put a clap on that, bro. Yeah, there we go.
The clap was kind of long, so I ain't want to hold you up there. I was going to wait till you got
man,
done.
I ain't talk to the producer. We got to talk to upper management about this joint.
I got one more. This nonviolent stuff will get you killed. By Charles E. Cobb Jr. Just a few books, man. We Will Shoot Back.
And I'm gonna post these. I'm gonna get them from, and I'm gonna post them up on Instagram. So y'all, if y'all know about it, they'll be up there on the YouTube thing.
And so I think it's really, really, really important, man. Especially as more and more of us are exercising this right to get very much in tune with the history and the legacy that we have with lawful, responsible firearm ownership, because
100%.
we've been doing that for a very long time, but it's just not all of us have known about it.
The
Not all of
narrative
us
we
have
got to
known
change,
about
and
it, man.
I'm glad we brothers in here that can change the narrative to give us a better look as being responsible armed citizens and fathers and protectors and first responders, man. So I want to thank Rand for coming out, man. My brother Rand, I can call him my brother, coming out and giving us some game, critiquing me, let me know, you
did
know what I'm
good,
saying,
baby.
how I sound. My homie, the bear on the ones and twos, my brother,
we
man, let me put this together. And the homeboy Big Dre up in here too from Authentic Podcast. He ain't said much, but he over here chilling, shaking his head like, man, y'all talking about guns, man. What is wrong with y'all?
I'm just
Don't let the smooth taste fool you.
Hey,
right.
hey, man, you know, we gun geeks sometime, bro. We gun nuts sometime, bro.
Hey, that's a quiet shooter over there, man.
They usually are. Big boy, so I ain't about to run after you. We ain't about to do this.
We went to the range, and he just started dumping him. I'm like, dog, slow down. He's like, man,
Slow down.
He's like, no, I got this. I remember. Hey, but everything is where it need to be, though, so I let him do what he did. So, hey.
I don't play Call of Duty for nothing.
Hey,
Duty.
so,
go.
like, look, go check us out at Pop Culture 223 Podcast. It's on all podcast and streaming platforms, and also going up on YouTube, the video and the audio together. So, thank y'all for having us.
Really quick, Randy, where can everybody reach you?
I'm on IG, Randy Wimbley TV, man. You can also find me on Facebook. Look for the blue check.
The blue. Dang, he got a blue. I ain't even got it.
Only on Facebook.
Dang, he got a blue check.
Randy
The extra
Wimbley
clap.
on
See, the
yeah,
thing
just
with
search
the
Randy
BS
Wimbley.
claps on